Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's happening now, and I'm your host, Hammer. Today we got a crazy cool show. I've got some really amazing people here. You guys know Cousin Adam, right?
Yo, still here and glad to be around.
And we got Troy.
Peace, man.
Peace, man. What? Yeah, that's from the 60s, Troy. What's going on over there, man?
I'm from the 60s, man. I'm all about that.
Oh, of course you are.
Yeah.
Late 60s, I'm sure.
Nope, early.
So today we're going to talk about gambling. And if you guys don't know this, the first card game that was ever played, they think, was in China in the 9th century. But the actual first casino was around 1637 in Italy, and it was the Ridotto. And of course, the Italians, they make those fabulous cars, and of course, they're going to have the casinos. But we're talking about a couple of interesting things today. We're talking about gambling. We're talking about great work ethic, and we're talking about how when you hear the knock on the door and they say, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help," run the fuck out the back door, okay? So today we've got a friend of ours here. His name's Tod. He was a fire captain in Bell, California. He spent 30 years on that job. How you doing today, Tod?
Good. Great to be here, Hammer. Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about your career and why you decided to become a firefighter.
Oh, boy. You want me to go deep. Well, as a young kid, I always wanted to be a pro athlete, and God didn't give me those skills. So I thought, what's the next best thing to the excitement and the rush? And so I saw those fire trucks going down the road. I thought, man, that looks pretty exciting. Loud noises, big red trucks. And from a young boy, that's where it took me.
I don't know if I believe that you couldn't have been a professional athlete. I mean, you look like frickin' Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, dude, you got the size. I don't know about the skills, but you got the size.
Size, yeah, no skills, trust me.
I think they needed somebody to stunt double as the most interesting man in the world. So you were kind of booked up for that.
Oop, there it is.
Yeah, well, if you have a Dos Equis, we can get it going again.
We might have, actually.
There you go.
So anyway, as a young boy, I wanted to be a fireman, and I started testing, hanging out at a fire station in San Pedro, California, and a couple guys took me under their wing, showed me the ropes. I was 17 years old back then, and by George, I got hired at 18 by LA City Fire Department.
Wow, that's pretty young to become a firefighter.
Yep, and then Prop 13 hit, which they put a freeze on all the hiring in LA. So that stopped my progression to put on that uniform, and I had to wait a couple of years when I got picked up by LA County Fire Department.
So you were at 21 when you got picked up?
20.
20.
Yep, young boy.
So 30 years.
30.
What's the most exciting thing in those 30 years? What's the biggest rush you had in 30 years there?
Oh, geez. You can't even explain. Well, you know, saving people's lives is obviously a rush because not too many people get to challenge themselves and make a difference in the world like firemen, policemen, our military can do. And I just think the self-gratification of that and being together as a team, knowing that, you know, your life could be in danger. Obviously, with 9/11 and the World Trade Center, we lost 343 firefighters, and every day you go to work, it's you never know if you're going to come home. So
isn't it true? Like the real thing I know with cops and firefighters, and probably most of the guys in that kind of industry, it's that rush. I mean, you're always getting that rush, like a professional athlete.
Well, that's the thing. That's what I was trying to emulate and experience, was that rush. You're always searching for that rush. And that's why, I worked in the streets of downtown LA where there's always something going on. There's never a dull moment. And you know what? You're a team. You got 6 guys in your station where I was with the paramedics, and you never know what that bell goes off, what's coming.
You got that adrenaline and dopamine kicking in, right, when you get to those calls. Todd, I've got a question for you in regards to that. I've been to a few accident scenes, thankfully not my own, but I've come across a few of them. and my adrenaline takes over, and I can kind of patch anything. I can put some stuff back together in the heat of the moment. But if it's, if you back away from it and you look at it as like, torn skin, and I mean, it's a whole different animal, right? If the adrenaline's going, I can take care of it. If it's not so much. Is that when you're out there, the training gets you where you need to be, but I imagine the adrenaline just takes over above and beyond that.
Yeah, adrenaline's, like anything, adrenaline could be your best friend or it could be your worst enemy. So you got to really maintain your composure and not put yourself in harm's way to be another victim or another piece of that puzzle that you're trying to help and, save. So, it's definitely a rush, I'll tell you.
Be the solution, not more of the problem.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, you have to be that guy, because when you come into that, you're running into that fire, you're running into that situation, you've got to be on point. You're not scared. You're just in there to do a job, and you got to get it done. When it's all said and done, that's when you can kind of sit back and take a deep breath and go, okay, we accomplished our mission, right?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that back, I got hired at, like I said, 20 years old, 1983. And back then you had no, critical stress debriefing. So what you did is you go on a tragic scene or a traumatic, oh, that's not good. And that's on silent.
Oh, you know what?
That's
the
on.
fire. That's the fire engineer's
off.
No, it's off. But you know what? It makes for good radio.
There's Todd coming down the pole.
So anyway, like I was saying, I think I lost my train of thought, but we had no critical stress debriefing, which you carried all that stuff back to you at the station and you chopped it up at the dinner table with the guys. And, right now you're seeing a lot of guys that are experiencing this PTSD, and it's not from, wars in Iraq. It's from basic life in the streets of LA or wherever. So,
well, I've got cops in my family, and they always say, you always wonder why cops are so hard, because they're dealing with 90% of their calls that they're dealing with is the worst part of society. So,
and the worst part of their day.
Absolutely.
On top of that, right?
And they bring it home to their families. So I could understand why they would have those issues.
Yeah. And as a firefighter, you're in a completely uncontrolled environment. There is nothing that's controllable. You're the first on scene. You're in the streets. You're, outside. It's dark. And you always have to be aware of what's around you. I mean, if you go on a shooting, a lot of times they haven't caught the shooter yet. So you're working in very adverse conditions, and
you can be the next victim.
You could be the next victim. And when you transition from a paramedic like I was to a captain, now you're responsible for all 5 other guys. So your head's on a swivel, making sure you're not a victim.
So did you always throughout your 30 years of service, did you always work in like city, urban, municipal structure fire? Or did you see a shift towards like wildland assistance coming from LA County as well?
Oh yeah, LA County. One of the biggest fires I've been on was the Malibu fire, which burned from the 101 down to the ocean. And that's, you're versed in so many different things, which I like that type of work, but that wasn't my forte. My forte was in the ghetto and that rush. It was just a constant, shooting, stabbings.
Yeah, I've had to drive through wildfires before to get home. I couldn't imagine driving into them to go to work.
Yeah. Well, in my career, I saw, the Rodney King riots, the Northridge earthquake. I mean, they flew us in to get to the Northridge earthquake. I can't remember what airline crash in Cerritos, the Cerritos air crash. I mean, it's just an array of things you see. So you're basically a jack of all trades.
Well, I would, the thing that I would wonder about, we all watch these gory movies and we think, some of that stuff's spooky and everything. But when you're seeing it for real and you see it all the time, it has to take some kind of a toll, right?
And it takes a toll. And, I have one daughter, and trust me, when you go on a child that's your kid's age, you transition that to your own child, and man, it hits you. It could get you. And you got to be able to just realize that you're doing a service to try to save this person's life and to help their family and help their cause. But man, I can only imagine your own child seeing something like that.
And having meeting you now, Todd, it's like all those events you just mentioned, I was here in SoCal for all of those, and I appreciate the fact that you were at those. So thank you.
Oh, thanks. Yep. Loved every minute of it too. I loved helping people, and without getting politics involved in this conversation today, I will say that when that bell goes off, there's no politics involved. You're just going. So it was actually pretty cool, satisfying.
Well, speaking about politics, when you become a captain, isn't that a pretty political position?
No. That's why I stopped at captain, because as soon as you go one more step up to chief, battalion chief, now you're bottom step management. I was top step labor. And for me, I was always fighting for my guys. I mean, we came on duty together at 7 a.m. There was 6 of us. I made sure we all went home at 7 a.m. the following morning. We ate well. We cooked. We laughed. I made sure we went and got a coffee at 3 o'clock every afternoon to bring the guys together. And, we played basketball, and you live there. You live at the fire station. So sometimes you're away from your family for 5 days. So,
well, you're with your second family.
And not only are they family, they're teammates, they're brothers, they're every other piece of that puzzle to get the job done as safe as possible.
Okay. So Todd spent all these years, 30 years of service to the men and women and children and everybody of California. You heard some of the incredible things that he was involved with and that he did. And then one day, our federal government decided that, I guess the federal government decides they don't like you. They've got all the resources in the world to say, we'll just eliminate you and wipe you off this planet. And unfortunately, one day, that's what happened to Todd. He never, ever, ever got to go back to his fire station. Todd got involved with the thing that I started this whole conversation out with some gambling. We all do it. I'm still pissed off right now at USC. They lost last night by 19 points. How do you get in the finals and lose by 19 points? It was like them playing a freaking high school team. But apparently, since I bet on them, apparently somebody made a phone call and told them to throw the whole thing. They do that for you, right? So this is how ridiculous this thing is. So Todd, tell us what happened, and tell us how they entrapped you.
Well, I mean, back to my sporting days, how I love sports. And I was raised in San Pedro, California. And, a lot of my friends were into the bookmaking business. And my dad left when I was 9, and I was taken in by this family and my best buddy. And I was sitting on a couch watching a Monday night football game, and my buddy's dad said, "Hey, Todd, if you root and cheer loud for this team, I'll give you $50. And I'm like, "What? $50? And I'm like, "Oh, shoot." So I'm cheering, man. And
of course you are.
Yeah. And from that point on, I discovered, sports betting and bookmaking, and I was enamored by it and just loved it, and numbers and the rush. And I started gambling myself for a lot of years. And, you're gambling at the fire station, you got football pools, you're doing all kinds of stuff. And finally, I turned it into my own business. And
where was that?
Oh, the business was based out of Costa Rica. And, call centers like they do now. I mean, it's virtually legal, and it's going to be legal pretty soon here. So, but when I did it, it was, illegal here in California. And I got introduced to a couple guys by a buddy of mine that needed a job who worked for me. And these guys became my buddies. And we hung out, and for 2 years, they came by and chopped it up with good old Tod. And one day they showed up at the fire station and talking about gambling, and came into the fire station, did a tour around the station. And
Well, let's think about this, Todd. What buddies don't bet? Ever since we're knee high to a grasshopper, you're betting your buddy, oh, you can't jump over that puddle, or you can't jump your bicycle that far. I'll bet you $1 you can't do it. So as a society, we grow up with that.
Human nature. Really is
100%. And you know what? I'm not here to sit here and make excuses about what I did. But everybody does bet. I mean, there's football pools going around. I'm sure every agency there is known to man. And that's how I kind of justified my business. It wasn't immoral or unethical. It was black and white. It doesn't get any more clear than that. And I like to compete, and that was it. So,
well, I saw an article by that fabulous rag called the OC Weekly by this complete moron. His job before he was at OC Weekly, he was probably the mouse at Chuck E. Cheese, but he wrote an article about you, and basically you were the worst person on the planet, the biggest mobster. You probably killed more people than the World War II and 3 and 5 and 10 together. And they just made you look so bad when it was actually really nothing. I mean, it was one bet, here and there. You never even placed a bet yourself.
No, that was the thing. I never took the bets. The bets went to a call center in Costa Rica. And
so did you twist these guys' arms to make these bets?
No, I don't think you twist anybody's arms and make bets. I think that's just human nature. That was one of my contentions. The OC Weekly writer never even contacted me. He just wrote a story based on what the feds of Homeland Security said. And I get it. They got a job to do. Why me? I have no idea. Like I said, I spent 30 years saving people's lives.
Well, that's why you're sensational when it comes to that kind of a story.
Yeah. Yep.
They were trying to make a name for themselves.
And I mean, I'm sitting here in front of this microphone, and not to toot my own horn, but I'm a poster boy for America. I mean, I've never done a drug in my life, nothing. I never even had a ticket at that time. And, for them to throw all the resources and taxpayers' dollars at me, and to find out that a buddy of mine set these guys up with me that were federal undercover agents, and they basically had to entrap me by coming to the fire station, and unannounced, mind you. And they came back a couple times and wanted me to sell counterfeit blue jeans and counterfeit tennis shoes and counterfeit Louis Vuitton purses. And I'm like, what?
If they thought you were such a mobster, where's their bar for illegality here? Counterfeit blue jeans? Go down to Macy's. That's any pair you're going to find.
It absolutely blew me away.
Isn't that entrapment? I mean, that spells entrapment to me all over. It smells like it. That's for sure.
Yeah. I have no idea their motive. A lot of my clients were pro athletes and were high profile people. I do believe that they thought that without doing their homework and their research, they thought these guys could be fixing games, or I'm a big dude. They thought that I was maybe selling these guys steroids or whatever.
So why not sell them fake jeans too?
Yeah.
Make the real money.
Well, it really has nothing to do with you, Todd. It's like a DA. They don't care if you're guilty or not. They just care what their record is, so they can be, they can move on to become a judge and do that kind of thing. It's the same way with the feds. They got to show that their bosses we've got this. They probably wrapped you up like you were Gotti and said this is going to make all the papers and all the press. Hey, good for you guys. It made OC Weekly, and the only thing in OC Weeklies are prostitutes and 420. Okay, that's it.
Todd, are you aware of wiretappings or recordings and stuff like that they have on you or took while they were hanging out with you for 2 years?
Oh yeah. Yeah, but
Did you have to get down to a court
honestly,
situation where you actually heard the tapes and things like that?
I never did anything
No?
wrong. My daughter went to school. I took her to school every day, went to the gym, worked out, went to work. It was just a crazy, crazy story. And,
So why did you take the deal?
well, let me finish.
Okay.
I went to get a sandwich at Subway one day, and all of a sudden 4 cars roll up on me, and these guys pop out of their cars, and it's the same guys that were my friends. And now I'm holy is basically what I said.
Yeah.
And they had a search warrant, and they searched my car and tore that apart. And
Did they search your foot long?
yeah.
Get that at least?
Did you get to eat the footlong?
Yeah. Did you?
Hey,
At least
Copper,
I got it
your
for
foot long.
$5 because they took all my money.
I just want to make sure you got to eat that sandwich. You know?
Yeah.
They're feds. They're going to take a bite.
Yeah.
You know that.
And they found absolutely nothing in my car, went to my house, tore that apart, found nothing but, cash, took all my cash, left me with $38. And
Yeah, they did say they found 200 grand in your house.
yeah.
So you do a good job of ratting that stuff away. I wish I had that in my house.
Yeah, that wasn't a good day. And,
No.
and you know what? It got worse because, like you said, I never went back to the fire station, which that's what I loved. And the job, I feel, as much as I love the job, I think the job kind of did me dirty too. And, I lost everything. I lost my pension and everything over this deal. So
Now that's that Pepper law, right?
Pepper law that came into effect right at the time that I was going through my stuff. And I took the plea agreement based on they wouldn't take my pension based on what the judge said. And then they came back and took it.
Wow.
And you had already started getting your pension at that time, right?
I was getting my pension. Yep. Getting my pension. I had 30 years on and I was 50 years old. So, I mean, the max is 55 years old. So I lost some money based on my age, but, and then they took my medical because for whatever reason, they took 13 years of service off my, which they said I was doing this for 13 years, which I wasn't. I don't know where they came up with that. They only investigated me 2 years. So,
Well, I think they were just pissed off at you, Todd. They just didn't get anything on you, so they were going to screw you as hard as they could.
oh yeah. Yeah.
You got to know a bunch of those feds are clients too.
Yeah.
They all, I mean, they're guys, right?
Yeah. And,
Guaranteed, every one of those guys that pulled up on those SUVs that day have made bets
they're in a pool. They're in a Super Bowl pool. They're in a something.
in their office.
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. You know what? They were a lot dirtier than I could ever be. I mean, to do what they did to try to get me was that's
Todd, they have endless resources. You have no chance against these guys. They'll silence whoever they want to silence, whether you're right or wrong.
I know, but endless resources I get, but I would focus my attention on someone else that maybe had potential to do a hell of a lot more damage than I could ever do. So,
well, and I think the way that they damaged, your life is inexcusable for sure. What happened to your pension, your medical, your family, but and the family unit that you had there at the firehouse as well. But the way they damaged LA County in removing your leadership as a fireman for the remainder of your time there, I think that's like the short-sightedness that we lose our perspective on.
No, I appreciate that. And you know what? I was damn good at what I did. And I always put myself in a situation to challenge myself. I love that challenge, where you really want the big call, or you really want to take your brain and put it in a situation where, hey, I could really make a difference with this situation. And I really thrived on that. And I will tell you this, though, by me getting in trouble, my daughter was, I believe, 15 when I got in trouble. And I back to me saying that I always wanted to be a pro athlete. Well, sports was always my thing. And during the course of my time here doing this, I was fortunate enough to be at virtually every game behind home plate, best seats, always going to every stadium. And the most important thing should have been my daughter. And I was, I never wore another man's jersey, but I was always in another man's house watching that man perform, where I missed a lot of my daughter's games. And the beauty of this whole thing was she was still 15 and she played lacrosse at Mater Dei. And man, I never missed a game since that day. And she's my favorite pro athlete that I know, and she's the best. She's 22 now, just killing it. So, yeah.
Well, think about this. Now let's look at the flip side. You went through all this. A lot of people get completely sidetracked and crushed, and they never come back from it. But you came back in a big way, right? What's the name of your bar that you own?
It's called the Blarney Stone in Fountain Valley. Yep.
How long have you owned the Blarney Stone now?
4.5 years. So,
and that place has been in business, 48 years or so?
Yeah, something 40, 48, 47. Yeah. Yeah, it had some seediness to it, and turned it around, and it's actually my pride and joy. I'm pretty proud of myself.
So it looks to me like your daughter turned out fabulous. You've got a great career now. You're doing what you want. You're your own boss, and you leave all that BS behind you. And you just got married. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Congratulations, Todd.
Yeah. And, I do carry it with me every day because, we live in a world where fire trucks go around all the time, and I put myself in that right front seat, and I do miss it. I never thought at 58 years old I'd be working as hard as I do now, but you got to do what you got to do. You can't quit. I think the moral of the story is you got to dig deep and dust off. It's real easy to feel sorry for yourself. I've been fortunate enough to surround myself with good people. I have great friends. We live in a great, beautiful area with obviously the restrictions and the COVID and all this bull crap, but I've been fortunate enough to manage to get my life in a place where I'm blessed.
I think the real story here, Todd, is you are a hero. You were a hero for 30 years, saving people's lives, taking care of us Californians. You were a hero to your daughter, and now you're a hero in your own business and with your new marriage. So thank you, Todd, for being a hero.
Well, you know what? Funny you bring that word up. I get pretty pissed off when they use that word loosely.
It's the most overused word in the English dictionary.
Right?
Absolutely.
And you know what? I appreciate you saying that because I do consider myself a hero, put myself in, and our military and our police and all the people that make a difference to protect our freedom and our country and our local municipalities here where we live. Those are the heroes. I get so upset when they call an athlete a hero because he hit a home run or he made a shot. So thank you for recognizing that and saying that.
Well, thank you, Todd. And thank you, Troy and Adam. And thank you for watching Happening Now with Hammer. Have a beautiful evening, guys. Hey, thanks for watching, guys. And if you like what you saw, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.